Hey, it's your Ness from MMethod.com, where you learn how to have flowing conversations in a foreign language. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through a process I've been walking people through for the past week or so, having private consults with people on the phone for our new personal training program. And the purpose of this process is for you to get clarity on what exactly your sticking point is for your language, what your problem is, because it's my belief that in order for you to really solve a problem, you need to have a very clear and precise understanding of what the nature of your problem is. Now, when we're talking about a problem learning a language, we're not really talking about a problem learning a language. We're talking about a problem experiencing flowing conversations with native speakers in that language, because the whole point of language is to communicate and connect with human beings. So you're not trying to learn Spanish, you're trying to connect with Spanish speakers through flowing conversation. You're not learning Chinese, you want to deeply connect with your Chinese wife's family who don't speak any English by sitting down with them on a couch and having a flowing conversation where you're entertaining, making people laugh, understanding, paying attention. That's the experience you want to get to. So the first question I ask people is, who do you want to have flowing conversations with? Who do you want to more deeply connect with in that language? And that's where everything starts. So who is that for you? Now, once you know that, we talk about this experience of what is a flowing conversation. We all know what that is. Think about sitting down with your best friend who you haven't seen in years, and you're catching up, remembering the old times. You trust each other, you go back and forth, you're laughing, and just time goes by, you don't even notice. You're not self-conscious, you're not thinking about how they're gonna judge you or if you sound stupid. You don't have any of those thoughts, you're flowing. And that's the point once you get you in a foreign language. So when you're not experiencing that in a foreign language, there are only so many things that are blocking the flow. So let's break that down for you so you can understand specifically what your problem is, what's blocking your flow, because it's different for everybody. So information flows in and it flows out. When things are flowing in, there are two basic categories of problems. The fundamental one is going to be clarity. They speak too fast. The words blend together. I can't make out any of the words. So listening comprehension. Why can't you understand people? Is it a clarity problem? Meaning maybe you know the words when they repeat them slowly or they write them down for you, but you weren't able to hear them clearly or quickly enough in conversation? Then what's blocking your flow is the clarity of the signals being blocked. So you need to train clarity and open up and hear more precisely. And that's the ear training we do in our programs. But maybe you can hear things clearly, but you just don't know what the things mean. So now we're talking about comprehension. So you just have to expand your knowledge of meaning and context through different means. Once again, we address in our courses, but I also recommend things like Pimsleur and other auditory-based programs for building out your vocabulary and your repertoire of expressions. If you know those words on paper, but you can't catch them in conversation, then your problem isn't knowing more words. Your problem's clarity, okay? Now, that's information flowing in. What about information flowing out? That's when we're talking about your speaking ability. But I tend to use the word performance, because when it comes to speaking a foreign language or performing in the act of a conversation, you have two things to worry about. First is competence. What are the words that I know? Am I able to access them in the proper moment, in the proper context? Do I know enough? Once again, people can be very competent in writing, but very incompetent in speaking. In fact, most people who've studied the language for a long time are that way. I'm sure many people watching can nod their head in agreement to that. So then the question then is, if you know these words and you can write them and you can conjugate grammar and write letters and all that kind of stuff, but you're not able to perform and speak fluidly, what's going on there? Are you incompetent at the level of articulation? People don't understand you because your pronunciation, your accent is off? Or are you incompetent at the level of choosing the right word and the right phrases so people can really get what you mean? Or are you going beyond competence to the final C, which is confidence? And this is the most important one, really, because in order for you to develop your competence, and you have to practice, you have to speak, you have to do it, you have to perform, even though you're going to perform and you will perform badly, you will fail, you will struggle. But if you don't have the confidence to even put yourself up there on the stage in the first place, you won't ever have the opportunity to build that competence. Now, people can deceive you and make you think you can make competence and you can get better at performance by burying your head in a book or, you know, collecting a bunch of coins on a smartphone application, that's not competence. That's, I don't know what that is. That's just idling time, deceiving yourself into thinking that we're making progress when we're not. And I don't blame you for it, because it's much easier to sit down on a phone and plug away and kind of feel like you're learning stuff. But in reality, nothing is truly learned except within the context of what it is. And what's that? Flowing conversation. You need to be in a conversation and you need to speak, and that requires confidence. But then it goes back to competence, because you're always more confident the more competent you are. That's why we focus a lot on pronunciation. People think pronunciation is a bonus skill, but it's not, because even if you can get the grammar correct, if you're confident that your pronunciation is on point, then that confidence will carry you forward through the anxiety of performance to actually speak and do the practice. And then that experience will help you become more competent. So everything kind of circularly feeds into itself. So once again, in order for you to solve a problem, you need to clearly understand the nature of that problem. So what is the nature of the problem for you? Who do you want to have flowing conversations with, and what is stopping you from doing that? Is it coming in or is it coming out? Is it the base layer of clarity of hearing and pronunciation, or is it a top layer of you don't know enough meanings or exposure? What it is, understand it, let us know in the comments, and I'll go in there and respond, give you specific tips, but it's up to you to really self-diagnose and get to the bottom of what your problem is in order for you to take the proper measures forward to fix it. Okay guys, so if you enjoyed that video, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 10K subscribers by the end of March, and make sure to follow us as well on our email list, because we have new courses coming out very soon, and stay tuned for our next video.